think we're gonna get the glasses. I can't resist. I think that they're calling my name. I got
Used to exchange or return.
Dude, we're fucking balling now. Got the new Meta glasses. Let's go. As someone who has worked at Wealthsimple, Lyft, Pinterest, Rippling, and now Uber, what would you say is like the one thing that most CS majors don't do that you did a lot of?
A lot of people don't really take that kind of initiative to reach out to random people on LinkedIn.
You think that I didn't do enough of that when I was in like first and second year?
I feel like you should have done more.
Oh fuck, yeah, you're right.
In this economy and job market, you should be doing that to get as much visibility as you can get. For majority of my internships, I try to cold reach out to random people and try to get as many referrals as possible.
By the way, it was my girlfriend who referred me to Wealthsimple, so thank you for that. Something to do with taxes? I think that the best way to understand what high agency is kind of first to look at the opposite. I've been a student at the University of Waterloo since 2022, and I think it's pretty safe to say that I have a lot of experience with this whole Cali or bust mindset. I sort of had this really vague goal of having a nice job title and really became fixated on how nice it would be to have that. And that was the first trap I fell into. Having this Cali or bust or like FANG type of mindset is like, you're so fixated on the comfort that might come with these results that you may or may not achieve, right? When really what you should be doing is taking ownership of every little piece of effort that accumulates over time. I think computer science students love to complain about not hearing back enough from companies, but then they don't even take the initiative to try things like cold emailing or asking around for referrals. For the longest time, I relied only on my school job portal to look for employment. And I was wondering why I only got like 1 or 2 interviews every recruiting cycle. It was only like late into my second year when I realized that I was a complete dumbass. I finally started tapping into things like cold emailing and asking people for referrals. I'll give you as an example of a cold email I used to use back when I only completed 1 internship. After sending out a couple hundred of these emails, my interviewing game completely changed. This was the first time I started to actually get a sense of what it's like to be in a high stakes interview because I started getting responses from YC companies in SF. I asked my friends to refer me to other startups as well. That's how I got my second co-op. I've been using referrals to get interviews at big companies ever since, like Jane Street and Snowflake. And honestly, I wish I did more of that because I never wanted to reach out to strangers on LinkedIn or other people at my school like Becky did, right? I was also a little scared of kind of embarrassing myself and asking for favors. But what you have to understand is that if you're not willing to send out hundreds of cold emails and ask strangers for favors, not only are you putting yourself in a further disadvantage in this brutal job market, but you're also just lacking a lot of high agency, right? Because someone with high agency would do whatever it takes to optimize for the outcomes. They're not afraid to embarrass themselves. They're not afraid to be a little selfish and shameless sometimes. And I'm not saying those are good traits, obviously, but dude, if you want to get a job, like you have to be a little shameless and a little selfish sometimes. Another mistake I see pretty often is waiting to be ready. People have talked to me saying that they're not ready to send out cold emails because their portfolios don't look good enough. They're too much of like an introvert and scared to talk to people. And the difference when it comes to someone with high agency isn't the fact that they always feel confident and ready. They don't feel ready as well, but they do it anyways. Even if their portfolio looks like shit, even if they had 0 internships, they're still going out to talk to people and they're still putting random shit on their resume. You honestly can't be complaining about not having a job in the tech market and not doing the things that you know you should be doing. I also hated the idea of changing and admitting that I was wrong. Like for the longest time, I had a pretty bad resume. Like the template wasn't good, the bullet points weren't written well, but I really hated the idea of having to ask someone to review my resume and having to hear all their feedback, changing it and making iterations. In the back of my mind, I knew that's what I had to do, but I just like didn't enjoy doing it. I thought that it would be more fun to just like spam solve leak code questions. And that was a huge mistake I made. What I could have done instead was make different versions of my resume and ask upper years to help me review it more, instead of choosing the comfortable path of sticking to something that was familiar to me. Like, I know leak code might sound kind of intimidating to some people, but for me, I think it was choosing comfort. Someone with high agency is defined as someone who just has an unwavering bias towards action and someone who owns every little bit of their life and their outcomes. People who work extremely hard aren't necessarily people with high agency, because I think in order to truly have that skill, you need to have almost like the power to shape every single one of your outcomes. I think I never really had this skill until I started making videos. That was the step that took me from being a very insecure CS student, not wanting to take initiative, into someone who just always optimizing for outcomes and whatever makes me happy, honestly. That's what I'm focusing on these days. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but there's my 2 cents on what it's like to have and not have high agency. It's almost 7 p.m. right now, and I should probably leave the office. Okay guys, so we came uptown to Markham, editing the very same video that you're watching right now. I usually come uptown once every week on the weekends to say hi to my mom and hang out with my high school friends. Here in Markham, it's like more of like a chill vibe. I can like drive around the suburbs. It's a beautiful day.
Bad.
Thanks for the burger.
No problem. Does it smell bad?
Yeah, I do smell bad. Can I get some deodorant? Thank you. Are you filming?
Yeah.
Yo, don't film me putting on deodorant.
Yo, you are mean, bro. Chris said Steven smells so bad, and he did this.
If you're not being proactive and taking the initiative to build with AI, you're probably falling behind in terms of your ability to pass these new technical interviews that companies are starting to do. When I was interviewing for the company I worked at in SF, I didn't know anything about the interview beforehand, but when I joined the call, they literally told me to pull out my favorite text editor, open my favorite LLM, and just start vibe coding an app from scratch. They gave me a really open-ended prompt to build a point of sale. And while I was hacking away and implementing this web app for an hour, they asked me a lot of questions along the way, like, oh, why did I design this function this way? How would I write tests for maintainability? They asked me trivia about different types of network errors. They asked me to explain cores. They also kept asking me questions on how I would improve my implementation. And I feel like I would have been completely cooked in this interview if I didn't have the previous experience of building things from scratch, taking the initiative to learn with AI and debugging by myself. And if you really think about it, it kind of makes sense why companies are starting to move towards these type of interviews, because at the end of the day, they are looking for people with high agency. A lot of these startup companies, they don't want someone who just knows how to memorize lead code questions. They're looking for people who have experience with building things and people who take a lot of initiative to make things happen. That's one of the biggest parts about having high agency. I think that this type of open-ended building type of interview is very common now in startups. And I've even heard at big tech companies like Intuit, they just like give you an API and let you use AI to build some random shit. And I would argue that it's not sustainable anymore to just grind lead code questions. You need to be very proactive, staying on top of trends, learning all the relevant skills and practicing for what these companies are actually testing for. And oh, how convenient, because if you want a structured way to learn how to build with AI while learning the fundamentals, you can use a tool like Scrimba. They have a bunch of fundamental courses which are all free. And the coolest thing about Scrimba is that the video and code editor is combined into one. You can pause at any time during the video and play with the coding environment, all within your browser. My favorite course is the AI Engineer Path, which is available in the Pro plan. Similar to a lot of the other courses, it is based on building projects throughout the modules, and you'll be working with AI agents and learning fundamental concepts, so you're not just vibe coding without any direction. So if you want a structured roadmap to build projects with AI, if you want to learn skills that are actually relevant in today's AI world, and if you actually want to pass some interviews and get a job, make sure to use my link in the description for 20% off of Scrimba's Pro plan. So when it comes to landing these job interviews and actually passing the technical assessments to get the offer, it all comes back to one thing, which is that you don't wait for things to happen. You go out and make them happen. Whether the job market is good or bad, whether AI gets better or worse, high agency is the only skill you're going to need in the world of tech.